The polished brass of the urn sat on my mantel for 7 years, a cold, heavy weight that anchored my grief. Every January, I wired $40,000 to my son-in-law, Brad. It was the price of a promise I'd made to my daughter, Willa, before the fire on Route 9 supposedly turned her to ash. I earned that money with aching hands and sleepless nights at my grocery store, believing I was securing a future for my granddaughter, Ivy. Then came that Tuesday at the park. Ivy, just 7 years old, gripped my sleeve until her knuckles turned white. Her voice was a jagged whisper that sliced through the afternoon air. "Grandpa, please stop sending him money. Come to the house. You need to see." Fear, real, adult fear, flickered in her eyes. It was a look no child should possess. My chest tightened, a familiar pressure I'd felt since the day the officers stood on my porch at 3 a.m., telling me there had been an accident, a fire, and dental records. "Watch him, Grandpa," she pleaded. "Just watch him." The shadow in the store. I started watching. I parked down the street from Brad's house, feeling like a criminal. I saw nothing but a man living a quiet, solitary life. I almost dismissed it as a child's imagination until the woman walked into my store the following Tuesday. She wasn't a regular. She wore an expensive leather jacket and moved with a hauntingly familiar grace. She bought 2 things: a bag of coffee and a jar of cinnamon. She avoided my eyes. Her voice clipped and distant. 20 minutes later, I saw her outside. She was getting into a silver sedan with Brad. He laughed, a genuine, relaxed sound I hadn't heard from him since the funeral. She touched his arm with an intimacy that felt like a betrayal. I called my old friend Roger, a retired detective. "Something's wrong, Roger," Ivy warned me. "And now there's a woman." Roger didn't offer platitudes. He offered surveillance. 7-year-olds don't make up warnings like that, Stephen. They don't have the map for it. If she's scared, there's a reason. The secret of the urn. That night, the silence of my house felt suffocating. I stood before the mantel. Coffee and cinnamon. Why had that combination triggered a frantic rhythm in my heart? I picked up the urn. It felt hollow, mocking. For 7 years, I had treated this brass box as a sacred vessel. My wife, Gloria, had died of a broken heart 6 months after the accident, her last sight being this very urn. With shaking hands, I twisted the lid. It gave way easily. Inside wasn't the fine, gray ash of a human life. I poured the contents onto my kitchen table. Dark, coarse granules spilled out, filling the room with a rich, spicy aroma. Coffee grounds and cinnamon. I tasted a speck. Spicy. Sweet. Kitchen scraps. The roar of my own blood filled my ears. I swept the urn off the table, and it rang against the floor with a hollow, brassy laugh. For 7 years, I had mourned a pile of flavored coffee. For 7 years, I had paid a man $280,000 to maintain a lie. They lied to us. I choked into the phone when Roger answered. The funeral, the body, it was all a joke. The warehouse on East Industrial Roger didn't waste time. He used his old contacts to pull security footage from the industrial district where he'd tracked Brad's car. "Stephen, sit down," Roger said the next morning, sliding a laptop toward me. The footage was grainy, but the facial recognition didn't lie. A woman was walking toward a side entrance of a nondescript brick warehouse. Building 447. 97% match, Roger whispered. "That's Willa." My heart stopped. My daughter, the one I had buried, was walking into a warehouse in the same town where I lived. We went there that night. The side door was unlocked. We moved through the shadows of industrial shelving until we reached a corner that had been turned into a pathetic excuse for a home. A twin bed, a hot plate, and a wall covered in photos of Ivy, every school picture I had ever sent to Brad. Willa was sitting there, staring at those photos. She looked gaunt, her eyes hollowed out by a decade of shadows. "Dad?" Her voice was a ghost. "How could you?" I roared. the pain of Gloria's death surfacing like a physical wound. Your mother died thinking you were dead. She died of grief. Willa collapsed to the floor, sobbing. I didn't want this. Brad said. He said I had to. The architecture of a lie. The story she told was a masterpiece of manipulation. 7 years ago, she'd had an argument with her friend Natalie over a debt. Natalie had fallen, hit her head, and stopped moving. Brad had arrived and taken charge. He told Willa that Natalie was dead. He told her she would go to prison for life, lose Ivy, lose everything. He convinced her that faking her death was the only way to stay free. He staged the accident. He identified a body provided by a cousin at the morgue. He moved her into the warehouse temporarily. But temporary turned into 7 years. Every time she asked to leave, Brad told her the police were still searching, that Natalie's family had hired private investigators, that the world was still dangerous. Brad lied, Willa, Roger said, stepping forward. He showed her a photo on his phone. It was Natalie, sitting in a cafe 3 days ago, vibrant and very much alive. The realization hit her like a physical blow. There had been no death, no crime, just a staged scene and a husband who wanted a secondary income. He had used her guilt to imprison her, while he used my grief to fund a life with Natalie. The sting. We didn't just want them arrested. We wanted them to break. The next night, Willa went back to the warehouse wearing a wire. Roger and I sat in a car across the street, earpieces in, listening as the side door opened. Willa, I brought you a surprise. Brad's voice came through, casual and cruel. I know everything, Willa said. Her voice was steady, a tempered blade. I know Natalie is alive. I know about the money. The silence that followed was heavy. Then Natalie's voice, cold as a winter grave. Does it matter? It wasn't personal, Willa. It was just business. Your father had money. We needed it. You were just the way to get it. Gloria died, Willa choked out. Honestly, Natalie replied, it made the whole thing more believable. Your father never questioned a thing. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles popped. Then came the threat. Brad's voice dropped, dark and dangerous. You're a liability now, Willa. We can't risk you talking. You come with us to the Caymans, or we make sure you never tell anyone anything. That was the safe word. Ivy. The warehouse was swarmed in seconds. Blue and red lights turned the brick walls into a kaleidoscope of justice. I ran inside just as the zip ties clicked around Brad's wrists. You set us up! Brad screamed, his face contorted. Willa didn't flinch. She stood tall in the middle of the wreckage of her life. No, she said. I just told the truth. The long way back justice is a slow process. Brad got 15 years. Natalie got 12. The cousin at the morgue is behind bars, too. We recovered some of the money, but that wasn't the point. The point was the Sunday afternoon 6 months later. Willa and I sat on the porch, watching Ivy run through the sprinklers. My daughter is still thin, and her eyes still drift toward the shadows sometimes, but she's here. Loneliness makes dangerous choices feel reasonable, she told me once, explaining why she stayed so long. I told her that desire whispers louder than guilt, but truth screams louder than both. If you're reading this, don't ignore the whispers of the people who love you. If something feels hollow, check the urn. Don't wait 7 years to find out you've been mourning a lie. If this story reminded you of the importance of family and truth, please like and subscribe to hear more. Your support helps us keep sharing these narratives of resilience.